You're showing up, you're making the calls, you're even having the conversations. But if you're not making the ask, guess what? You're not winning. And today, what I want to talk about is the ask is everything. And I get the privilege of just spending time with so many of you loan officers, and I'll jump on 30-minute Zoom calls or we'll jump on a conversation. And I got to tell you this, most loan officers aren't struggling because they don't have people to talk to. Most loan officers I see right now, they're struggling because they just don't ask. They get off the phone and here's what'll be said. Man, I'm having a lot of great conversations. Man, it was great reconnecting. I'm connecting with a lot of agents, but they're not having the money call. There or the conversation. They're not asking for the business. And one of the things I think, you can have 10 conversations a day. You can build rapport. You can talk about the market. You can offer value. But if you never cross the bridge in the conversation, what happens is the like I don't know why it's human nature, but it just is. When it's like, hey, they know what I do, they know who I am, they know that I'm a loan officer. There is a familiarity to it, I guess would be the right word, but really the power of it has got to be in the ask and learning how to ask the right way. It's like I'm having tons of conversations, but I'm not getting a lot of leads. And then I'll say, okay, well, tell me how at the end of the conversation you're asking for the business. And they'll say things like this. And listen, I've said it. You might find yourself saying it, but it'll be things like, hey, just keep me in mind. Would you keep me in mind on your next lead? And it almost is just this passing, but it doesn't cause a pattern interrupt. It doesn't cause somebody to stop. And what we have found is even tweaking that from, hey, keep me in mind on your next deal. And here's what will happen. Oh, yeah, sure, I will. And I'm off. Uh, and oftentimes we don't even say that because we're nervous about how they'll respond. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But here's what's interesting. Just at the end of the conversation and saying, hey, Steve, man, great conversation. Loved reconnecting. Before we get off the phone, let me ask you real quick. Who do you have today that I could help you get pre-approved to make sure it's a good use of your time? And what we have found is just adding that one closing phrase converts when you're talking to warm relationships, every 13 conversations will turn to about two relational referrals. So now the data backs it up. And I'm talking with tens of that, like over 10,000 outbound calls. Like this isn't a small sample. This is big cities, small cities, East Coast, West Coast, big teams, little teams, big production, little production. When you're calling a warm list of clients or agents or partners that know, like, and trust you, then you ask for the business, 18% of the time you're going to get a referral. And if you're not getting it 18% of the time, one of the first things I have people do is go back and look at, are you actually asking for the business? I'm thinking about Jared, great guy. Was part of the boot camp. I'm sure you guys have heard this story, but when we got started, he said, "Man, I always ask the first week of the boot camp, what's the number one thing you want to get out of the next 8 weeks?" And he said, "The number one thing I want to hyper focus on is being accountable to ask for the business." And he was doing it, I don't know, under 20% of the time. By the end of the 8 weeks, he was over 90% asking for the business. And that last week had already put 7 loans in his pipeline, disclosed because, and I asked him, I said, man, that's a pretty significant jump. What did you do? He said, I just started asking for the business. Literally can track it back to same number of conversations being consistently over time, but adding the one piece which most of us forget. And here's the thing, it's not your fault. Nobody really has been talking about the number one part of the conversation, which is the ask. The power's in the ask, the money's in the ask. If we're not asking for the business, we are simply staying busy. Now, will we get periodic business? Yeah, but you won't get it at 18% of the time. Like that is the power of a predictable business, is whenever you can have the same effort, the same calls, the same people. The only difference is you get bold in asking for the business. And hey, let me talk about this. I want to talk about the psychology behind the ask, because some people are like, well, do you ask an agent if I talk to him 3 times a week? Every time you talk to an agent, I'm asking, hey, Brandon, man, hey, brother, it's Monday. How you doing, my man? Did you work or you play? Oh, you worked. Awesome. Tell me about it. How did you do an open house? What would you work on doing? And we lead naturally into conversation. It's like, well, hey, listen, let me ask you this. Who did you run into this weekend that I could help you get pre-approved to make sure it's a good use of your time? Oh, yeah, man, I met this person at the open house. Awesome. Give me their name. I'm going to call them right now. Let's get them going. Then I get them set up for their loan consultation. And tomorrow after my 2 o'clock loan consultation, I call him back and I say, Brandon, let me give you an update on Mr. Smith. We had a great loan consultation, well qualified. And I just give him the full update. And at the end, I say, hey, have you run into anybody else since yesterday that I could help get pre-approved to make sure it's good use of your time? And then I talked to Brandon on Thursday when we do our pre-approved and looking, and I say it again. And it's not weird, it's professional. Hey there, if you're loving the tips so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss out on more cool free tips coming your way. I'd also love to hear from you. Make sure to drop a comment below and let me know what you think, or what it is you want to see next. And we'll see you on the inside. See you. And what I'll tell you is the really good agents, the producers, the ones that have a real book of business, when they hear you being consistent with the ask, they know that when you're even talking to a client, we've got a 3x3 script we use. And when we're talking to the agent, when we're talking to the insurance agent, talking to the title agent, every conversation has a desired result, which has a very simple script. And I'll tell you, there's 4 scripts that if you know these 4, you'll touch 95% of all of your business. And I promise, if you really work on conversation, scripting, and being intentional with asking for the business, you too will see an 18% relational referrals for every conversation that you're having. And look, that's the name of the game. That's how you have a predictable business. And here's the thing, when you think about the psychology of the ask and we break it all down, most of the time you're not asking because you're assuming they'll think of you. But I'll tell you this, man, people are busy. They're distracted. They're not thinking about who to refer. And it's not until we plant the seed of who else do you have today? Or if you're talking to a client, use the 3x3. Could I count on you when you have a friend, family, coworker looking to buy, sell, or refinance? Could I count on you to give me their information? I'd love to help another great family like you. Here's what happens is you're dropping in the seed of a reminder so that when they do, they're like, oh yeah, let me get you over to Steve. I've got a buddy of mine who's in the mortgage business, would love to love to help you with that. So what happens is we've got to be intentional of planting the seed, asking for the business. And remember this, you got to ask for the business on all agent calls, on all current client and past client calls. Every outbound conversation and even inbound, I would just tell you this, if you and your team will get consistent with intentionally asking for the business, you'll see an exceptional growth in your business. Hey, and if you want help with it, go to freedomplanningcall.com, freedomplanningcall.com. Myself and the team, one of us will meet with you and we'll help you, whether the boot camp or maybe the membership. This is what we do. And the key that I wanted to talk about today is the power of the ask. And I want to challenge you this week, make the ask every single time, whether it's 5 calls or 25 calls. And look, I'll never forget when I got real intentional with asking for the business. I remember there were a couple of times it's like I hung up and I thought, oh, I didn't ask for business. I literally would pick up the phone, call him back and say, Brandon, hey, my man, before we got off the phone, I forgot to ask you, who else do you have today that I could help you get pre-approved to make sure it's a good use of your time? And the funny thing is he'd laugh and he's like, of course you did. You always ask for the business. And I said, yes, because I'm always asking for the business for you too with your clients. And I want to challenge you. Ask for the business, track it. Last episode, we talk about the 6 things to measure. One of them is outbound calls. Another one is talk tos. And the third one is, it's actually number 4, but it's how many times did you ask for the business? I want to challenge you this week. Don't hang up the phone without asking for the business. No exceptions, because what's the worst that can happen? They say, no, not right now. What's the best that can happen? Your numbers match what we're seeing, which is 18% of live conversations with an ask for the business have a relational referral. And get started today, freedomplanningcall.com if you want help. And remember this, anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Just get started. See ya.